ever feel like you're just this lazy piece of shit that constantly lacks motivation to do anything, and in particular deal with a porn addiction? Now, I struggled with a porn lust fapping addiction for 10 years. I was able to quit, and now I have this free community called Addicted to Virtuous, where I try to help as many people as possible to quit their addictions. And what I noticed is that a lot of guys say that they struggle with laziness, they've struggled with sloth. And we know from the Bible, actually in one of the Proverbs, it said that the craving of a sluggard will be the death of him because his hands refuse to work. Now, by all means, I'm not a perfect human being. Just today, after waking up, I laid in my bed for 1 hour just listening to music. But it was so much worse for me. And there are certain things that get me out of the bed eventually. Now first, let's address this myth that you may believe about yourself, that you're lazy, that you're undisciplined. But if you think about it, like if I think about myself, I used to be able to play video games for hours on end. I used to wake up early in the morning just so I can start earlier and get as much playtime as possible. I used to scroll till 4 a.m. I'm doing that without breaks. Like, I am able to focus for hours. If you can relate to something that I've just told, that means that you probably are able to do the things that require focus, that require discipline, but you lack the vision and the skills to put that focus, that attention into something meaningful. And today, I want to talk about just that. Now, I think that a lot of men crave responsibility. I often hear something along the lines, they would actually try if they had a reason. Like, for example, if they had a girlfriend. But the ironic thing is that we think we will find that motivation to try for someone else, especially to quit pornography. But how do we know that that motivation is not fleeting? So in all honesty, do you think that you can be entrusted with a responsibility of someone else if you cannot take care of yourself? Like, a lot of us want that godly woman, right? But do you think that God would entrust one of his loving daughters to someone like you? And you may say that, yeah, he probably would, and that's okay. Personally, I don't have this belief yet, and I think if I had, that would be a little bit prideful, but you're entitled to your own opinion. It's just that when I look from a father's perspective, I try to imagine myself being a dad for a daughter who's trying to date and she brings home like an alcoholic or a drug addict. Would I really want my daughter to date him, even if he promised that he would heal himself? Or would I tell him, get help first, right? Heal yourself, and then we can talk about it. So if you struggle with porn and you lack conviction, you lack motivation, let that be your biggest motivation. Actually, I saw this picture some time ago, which really stuck with me. It's like a guy, a firefighter or a soldier who's carrying someone else's wife and weird kid just because the dad is unable to do it because he was lazy in the past. Now, personally, I don't want to experience such thing myself. I would just find that disgraceful, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why I at least try to get myself out of the rut. Try to do productive things. And if you find it hard to do it just for yourself without an immediate award, do it for God. Do it for your future family that depends on you. Now, let's talk about specific strategies that you can use to become more diligent right now. So the first question that I found to be very important to ask myself, do I even have goals? If I don't have goals, that means I'm not lazy, but I'm just distracted. I'm just uninspired. And how can I be productive on something if I don't know what that is? Like, a lot of people are just straight up uninspired. They live lives of quiet desperation, a slow suicide, if you will. They die at age 25 and don't get buried until 75. The lack of hope, just staying in the rut. And the only way to get out of the rut is to face that hopelessness and say to yourself that I will rebel against this stuff. I want to live a purposeful life from now on, even if it hurts for a little while. Once I ask myself the first question, I ask myself the second question, which is related to the first question, and it sounds like this. I do have goals now. What is the quality of the goals that I have? Now, I like to play a piano, right? But setting a goal to play a piano like a virtuoso would probably not change my life that much. But for example, if I set a goal to help 1,000 men to quit porn or lust or fapping, that would probably change my life because of the skills that I developed and lives that I saved. How about getting better grades at uni? Amazing, I'll have more opportunities later on. How about getting healthier and stronger? Great goal as well. Now, one more detail that I'd like to add here is that action-based goals beat result-based goals most of the time. That's at least in my experience. Of course, we want the result, not the work. We want the six-pack, not the times we have to go to the gym and to do crunches to get the six-pack. However, I found that focusing on inputs, solely on inputs and not the outputs, leads to the outputs eventually. A man reaps what he sows. I found that focusing on action-based goals, and I'll talk about how to set them in a minute, just prevents cheating and step by step brings you closer to the goal, because now the goal becomes not to get the six-pack, but to become the person who goes to the gym basically every day and trains wherever. And if you do that, it's inevitable that you will get the six-pack eventually. So I told you those 3 goals that I set myself, which were getting good grades. Now, how can I change that goal to a more action-based goal? So I made a goal to actually study for extra 2 hours a day on my own. If I just do that, I can be certain that my grades would significantly increase compared to if I don't do that. Now, if my goal is to get healthier and stronger, I am setting a goal to work out once a week. Now, I used to work out like 6 times a week in the past, but now I'm slowly coming back to it, and just to stay consistent, I'm starting with just 1 time a week, and later on I'll add more workouts. And the third goal, which was to help 1,000 men to quit porn, lust, fapping, I'm going to try to shoot a video or write a post once a day and hop on at least 1 call per day with a client. And by the way, if you want a free consultation with me, how could you quit porn, lust, fapping, join a free community in the description down below. And the third thing that I wanted to touch upon in this video is planning. Now, setting goals is amazing, but the problem that I ran into while trying to do the actions for these goals, as I said, I still procrastinate. And I procrastinated because of a few reasons. I didn't know what to focus on. I didn't prioritize any specific task. I didn't know what to do at exact moment. And I overestimated my ability to do any particular task or action. So I would procrastinate. I would push everything towards the night time, and I would end up just doing nothing until then. A lot of change when I started scheduling or planning my day out. So today, for example, my calendar looks like this. If you're failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And how do you plan your goals? Well, I just look at the actions I have to take to achieve my goals. I number them in order of difficulty, and I start with the hardest, the most difficult task for the day. And from there, it's like walking in a park, right? And so if you struggle with porn, but you have like your schedule, you know what to do at the exact same time, it's so much harder to think about less because you're constantly thinking about the next task that you have to accomplish. And you get that momentum and kind of get addicted to crossing those tasks out of your notepad. I hope this video helped you. If you want free accountability, guidance, and community to quit porn, fapping, and lust, please join my free community Addicted to Virtues in the description down below.